When I think about sex dolls, a few kind of arguments for why sex dolls could be good come to mind, and I think come to most people's minds. And one of those questions is, well, what about really lonely people, maybe really elderly or maybe even disabled, who are looking for some kind of companionship? I know there was a story recently about a 71-year-old retiree who was a Vietnam War veteran. His wife had died a few years ago from cancer and felt very isolated. So he decided to purchase a sex doll and said that he felt some comfort from this object. I guess, what would your response be to this idea that, well, maybe lonely people should be able to have access to sex dolls?
That's certainly the popular narrative around these items. Oh, but people are lonely, we should just let them have them. It's very much from that kind of perspective, and the argument is being made a lot of the time by academics for all these things that you've listed. People are lonely, people who are grieving the death of a loved one, intimate partner, or who can't form relationships on their own, or they're elderly, or physically or mentally disabled. All of these things, there's so many reasons, so many things they pull out as, but what about this? What about this? These dolls could be a solution to all of these issues. But there's a few things there. And the first is that when they talk about people, that these could be a solution to people being lonely. It's not people, it's a selection of people, and it's male people that we're talking about. So what that effectively does is it makes this a gender neutral phenomenon when it's really highly gendered. It's like the prostitution industry. It's overwhelmingly female-bodied dolls and a market of 90% plus male buyers. So this way that they try and kind of make it gender neutral, it means that we're not really seeing what's going on. So that's the first thing. Then the second thing is that this idea that sex dolls and robots could be a cure for loneliness. First of all, that's kind of a nonsensical idea that if you own an object, you'll be less lonely. Like, really, can't we do better than that? And then the next thing about that is, if we, objects, these are objects, they're pieces of silicone in the shape of women. And the idea that we could have a relationship with an object, there's no relationship, there's no mutuality. It's not a woman, but it's being used as a stand-in for a woman. And we can only accept that a piece of silicone can be a stand-in for a woman if we think women are objects. That's the only way that a piece of silicone can be interchangeable with a human being, because we think women are objects as well. So it's this idea that we'll fix loneliness by allowing men to own objects, which are women, and that women are still property to be owned. So there's so many things in here that the logic just doesn't really stack up. And the premise of all of it is that women are objects, or are interchangeable with objects. And we've really got to challenge that, I think.